No, Sora. Curry is the yellow hero's thing, and this is Tsubasa's episode. We open this week with what I'm assuming is a follow-up to episode 19, with everyone splitting up the chores. A nice bit of continuity, though I'm not sure if you need that many people to just clean a living room, though they at least did start to spread out when they start to do their own rooms. In Tsubasa's case, he was either dusting off his monoplane or giving it a fresh coat of paint. But come on dude, we all know that masking and spray painting is the way to go. Gives you a nice even coat with little effort. However, while cleaning, he came to realize that many of his books about flying had collected dust, as he had stopped reading them after his Precure form just kind of gave him the ability to fly. Thus, and while probably not exactly how he expected to do it, he had achieved his dream, so where does he go from here? Well, he could continue to take care of the princess, until the day she inevitably doesn't need a babysitter anymore. Yeah, she'll probably start up some love war with a student council president, and that'll somehow lead into a story about reincarnation and idols and the corruption of the entertainment industry. Yeah, the Kaguya-verse is a lot weirder than you realize. But yeah, Yo-Yo took notice of his distress and decided to basically become the deuterogonist of this episode, which after all the attention Ageha has gotten in the weeks past, I think this was the best call. Anyway, as we just said, he was distressed over the fact that not only had he achieved his primary goal of flying, but it was also kind of given to him as a package deal with his Precure powers, meaning that all of the research he did into aerodynamics seemingly went to waste. Adding on top of that, he was worried about his future prospects, which, wait, wasn't that Mashiro's thing? Oh, they're actually sticking with that picture book thing from the last episode. Well, I wasn't expecting that part of her arc to end so suddenly, and with such a mid-episode, but okay, again, I like consistency, so I'll let it pass, and just hope now she can focus more on her relationship with Sora, who's probably going to need a lot of counseling in the next few episodes. Also, what is going on with Ageha's hand here? I mean, not only does this angle make it look like she has 6 fingers, but when did she become Scary Terry? But yeah, with all that in mind, Tsubasa was now the character most in need of direction for his arc. Fortunately, the wise old lady had the solution, which started with a tribute to Shinken Gold. With that, they went out on the weekend to pick some veggies from a little side plantation she had been growing. Seriously, what kind of tea does this old bag drink to let her both ride horses and maintain multiple gardens? Then again, she did get a little help by using some of Tsubasa's extra bird models as scarecrows in a cute reveal for the bird cure. And if you ever wanted to make some good ketchup out of them, just get a Gundam. But yeah, as they picked the produce, Yo-Yo exposited about what everything was, in particular, as it was about to become a major plot point for this episode, was her homemade fertilizer. Honestly, this was all some interesting food and gardening facts that not everyone would know about, but I don't think this is the reaction anyone would have to someone opening a bag like this. Oh, you made your own fertilizer, and now I'm gonna go chop off my own nose. Anyway, Yo-Yo revealed how her making fertilizer actually stemmed from her herb gardening, and not in the sense that she used it to grow them, but rather how it started a chain of events in which she decided to cook with the herbs, which resulted in food scraps like carrot skins and eggshells, and while she could have easily have just thrown them away, her curiosity led her to research ways to effectively recycle her waste, and thus once she had all that fertilizer, she decided to do even more research to start up a veggie garden, leading to our current state of affairs. Yeah, it was actually a very interesting chain of events fueled by an old lady's thirst for knowledge, spreading into multiple fields of research.
Roll credits.
Later, they decided to sit down for a little lunch that even included some of the stuff they just harvested. However, I guess Kamen Rider Chronos soon arrived. Tsubasa managed to pick up on this and told everyone they should move to a drier location. Elsewhere, our evil general, who might be retiring next week, took advantage of the weather.
He's such a bitch!
Back with the Precure, they were enjoying their now indoor picnic. Don't you start. The last thing any of us need is another gross shot from inside a character's mouth. Thankfully, they didn't take in that direction, and instead just made a quick and helpful message about how to make veggies a little easier to eat through sauce. With all that out of the way, we managed to refocus on our resident bird, as Tsubasa explained how he was able to pick up on the oncoming rain thanks to some weather research he had done as a part of his aerodynamics research. And yeah, in a way, it wasn't too dissimilar to how Yo-Yo started up her veggie garden, which was likely what she wanted to teach Tsubasa. I'm not gonna lie, this was a really good moral about how even if one pursuit seems to reach an inevitable end, there's always going to be other avenues to explore that you might even stumble upon in conjunction with your initial pursuits. I especially liked how Yo-Yo summarized all of this with this little montage that just used simple yet very expressive frames of Tsubasa growing a seed of knowledge. I think a lot of credit for this should go to the storyboarder of this episode, Chiaki Kon, who did something similar with Backstreet Girls and The Way of the House Husband. I mean, sure, it would have been nice if she had been given the actual director seat and could finally give us Crime Catch Precure, but still, this was good stuff. And she can take credit for at least making the good Higurashi anime. Just keep telling yourself it all ended with Kira and you'll be much happier. Also, just want to point out how Precure also had a lead named Sky and a mid-season edition who was a legal adult, and this particular manga was published about 2 years before this show.
Coincidence? I think not!
But yeah, this simpler animation worked very well for this more slice-of-life moment, but not so much for the fight of the week. We'll talk more about the sudden drop in animation quality in the closing thoughts, but for now, the Precure were fighting, Quilamon? Jeez, y'all are desperately holding on to that Digimon license, aren't ya? Anyway, yeah, the fight this week was mixed. As we just said, the animation was subpar with a lot of reused frames and lazy movements to the point I almost thought Aoyama came back for a second round. And yet again, Agiha took a little too much spotlight. Yeah, it's almost as if that thing is a total Deus Ex Machina at this point. Also, give Tsubasa his turn at it. He got a tone too, didn't he? Thankfully, it didn't end the fight, and they actually won the day thanks to some clever strategies devised by Tsubasa, thanks again to his weather and likely Pokemon research. And the final sequence again likely benefited from Kohn's storyboarding, as Tsubasa managed to fly higher than he had before, both literally and figuratively through his development, of course. And with that, the episode ended with Batamonda raising his death flags, and Tsubasa deciding to spread his knowledge a little further. And since it is the 2020s, he may as well do that with a tablet, as Yo-Yo passed the mirror pad onto him. Cameo cure this week was Tsubomi, who was another cure who actually managed to get right back into her original role, but again, it's kind of weird hearing Nana Mizuki play the gentle flower after the plethora of hardasses and sociopaths she's played since then. For the most part, this was a really well put together episode. I say for the most part, as the animation did take a significant dip in the latter half, but even then, solid direction and great writing held up this tale of a bird learning how to spread his wings. It's another good example of why good writers and storyboarders are required for this franchise, as the animation can be quite inconsistent at times. Animation direction this week is credited to 3 people, and I think I can hammer out a guess as to who did what. I think the first half was done by Mika Hironaka, and the second half was done by Joey Callaghan and Reggie Monabat. Hironaka has been a veteran for this franchise, and Battle Spirits, probably should cover that one day, while Joey and Reggie also have been around for a while, and yet I tend to think they work better in key animations rather than full-on direction, especially when it comes to fight scenes, which has been kind of their weakness throughout this season. Whatever the case, it did lead to some inconsistent animation that did bring down this episode's quality, but it didn't ruin it at all, as Mio Inoue's usually great writing and Chiaki Kon's efficient storyboarding really held it up. It was a well-told story about Tsubasa learning how not every endeavor leads to a dead end and can even branch off into wider pursuits. It's a good moral that can not only apply to anyone who feels unsure if their goals will lead to anything, but also probably some of the most development the bird cure has gotten in a while after being a little sidelined for his partner's development. I do wish said partner didn't have such an OP toy, or at least hand it off to him, but at least he did get a good spotlight in this fight, using some rather clever tactics to win the day. And overall, there's not much else to say other than it was a well-written and storyboarded episode, in spite of some iffy animation. This will likely be the last more fillery episodes for a while, as the series will be returning to the main plot, but at least they went out on a high note. Work on the third part of the Futari review is going well, so it should be out sometime in the first week of July. Translation, it'll more likely be the second week. I mean, we will try to get it out as soon as and efficiently as possible, just so that we can move on to some other smaller projects that we've been meaning to tackle for a while. So do look forward to it, and until then though, for now my friends, and if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna wait until Crime Catch Precure actually does become the next season of this franchise.